He went to work, and when he came back, the house was empty. He never thought I was capable of that. I didn't think he'd ever do it in front of my friends. He didn't hit me, technically. But his hand came up like a reflex, a clean, practiced arc that stopped a breath before my cheek. The room froze. Glasses stayed midair. A cheerful pop song kept playing like a bad joke. In the ring light, his eyes flashed. He realized everyone had seen. He swallowed, flexed his jaw, and turned the almost into a hair push, like he'd only meant to fix his hair. People laughed the way people do when they don't know what to do. I laughed too. Then I went quiet. After the last guest left, he said I'd embarrassed him. "I'm sorry," I said. "You're sorry." He scooped up cups. "Try not to argue with me in front of people next time. You made me look like a psycho. I almost said you did that yourself and didn't." In our home, saying the obvious meant a longer night. I already knew the terrain of those nights, the slammed drawer, the punishing silence, the sermon about loyalty. That was the first time he'd gone that far in public. In private, he specialized in smaller violences I learned to name only later. A voice that cornered, a silence that punished, a hand that hovered like a warning. Questions as leashes. "Where are you? Who's there? Why didn't you answer?" He said he wasn't controlling, just protective. He said I was too trusting, as if trust were something I should grow out of. As if love meant handing over my phone, friends, weekends, passwords, and the right to be believed. We didn't start there. No one does. He was charming at first, attentive, funny, the safe side of the sidewalk guy who lent his jacket. He called me refreshing, honest, different. He said he'd never met anyone like me the way you say you found something rare. The first red flags wore the costume of care. "Text me when you get home. Share your location tonight, just in case. Let me pay, don't worry." I liked the feeling of being looked after. It's easy to confuse vigilance with devotion. Then came the tiny adjustments. "Don't post that photo. It looks like you're trying too hard. That friend's toxic. She jokes about cheating. Do you have to go to that birthday? Didn't you just go to one?" He didn't say no. He made every choice feel like a test I'd fail unless I chose him. When I moved in, because it would save money, because we were together anyway, he got comfortable naming what he used to imply. "Don't wear that top to work. It's distracting. If you respect me, don't drink. I'm not there to keep you safe. You don't need to see your ex-friend. She never liked me." He put himself at the center of the map and called it home. He liked a quiet kitchen after work, dinner on the stove, the couch clear, my voice low. TV at volume 14, never 13. My ringtone special for him. His grip too tight in public, proof of ownership. He didn't like my phone face down or my friend Alina, who said what she thought. He didn't like me crying unless he got to be the comforter. He didn't like hearing he'd hurt me feelings were drama, and he didn't do drama. He was never a monster in noon's bright light. Monsters prefer dusk. When he almost hit me that night, no. When he pulled back a hair before he did, everyone saw the story I'd kept off stage. It didn't feel like vindication. It felt like failing to keep the secret. I sat on the tub edge counting blue tiles, breathing quietly. In the mirror, I looked like someone waiting for permission. Alina slipped in. She didn't pretend she hadn't seen or that it was fine. She sat on the closed toilet and waited for me to look up. "Do you really want this for the rest of your life?" she asked. No scolding. No pity. Just a clean, heavy question that knew it was time. Something in me unclenched. Not a decision yet. Just a rusted hinge opening. I cried, then apologized for crying, then apologized for apologizing. She took my hand. "You don't have to explain," she said. "Just answer." I pictured forever like this. My lungs tried to leave my body. "No," I said. The next morning he was sunshine. Coffee, a kiss, a TikTok of a dog in sunglasses. Asterisk last night got heated, but I forgive you. Asterisk tulips because they were simple and elegant, like me. He was good at making cruelty sound like intimacy. Tenderness lands strongest right after fear. It teaches you to doubt your memory. When he fell asleep, I wrote a list. If I leave. It looked like chores. Documents. Spare keys. Wallet. USB with copies. Basic clothes. Birth certificate. Bank info. Meds. Charger. Cash. Screenshots. The list was a thread I could hold while the room spun. I didn't decide to leave that night. I decided to be ready. He worked 24-hour shifts twice a week. I dreaded them. He returned brittle. Now they became windows. He left at 7 a.m., returned the next day at 8. I knew his rhythms, what his keys sounded like on the table, which meant be small, and which meant it's safe to breathe. For a week, I practiced smallness. I taped a manila envelope under a drawer with my passport, SSN card, an old and used credit card, cash I withdrew in quiet amounts. I told Alina the things I'd never said. He'd never hit me, but I lived in a permanent flinch. He once cornered me with words so soft I almost thanked him. He guessed my phone passcode for fun and got it right too often. When I said I'd visit my mother, he said over my dead body, then smiled and said he was kidding. Alina didn't make speeches. She labeled a tote, winter scarves, and filled it with my favorite books. She sorted my panic, keep, donate, toss. She offered her couch. I feared he'd find me. Then we won't make it easy, she said, and showed me settings I didn't know tracked me. We chose a Tuesday, one of his shift days. I kept expecting him to look up from cereal and say, "Why are you breathing different?" I smiled, cooked, watched his show, pretended so hard I almost believed I was staying. At 6:55 a.m., he kissed me. "Be good," he said, like to a dog he loved. The door closed. The lock clicked. Footsteps downstairs. Building door. Engine. The corner. Silence. I exhaled. I moved like a thief in my own life. Untapped the envelope. Packed the backpack. Slipped the list in like a charm. I didn't take the dress he liked or the noisy shoes he hated. I took shoes that could run, photos that were mine before they were ours, and the key I'd never use again. Alina texted here. She knocked our silly secret knock. We loaded the trunk fast. I left a note on the counter. "Please don't look for me." The pen skipped. The sentence looked half erased. We drove without talking. Buildings watched us go. When we parked near her place, she studied me with a forearm around my back. "It's done," she said. It wasn't. Leaving isn't one door. It's learning to close 100 new ones. That night on her couch, my body was a museum of alarms. Every sound was a footstep. Every headlight was his car. I turned my phone off, then on, then settled on airplane mode, a pretend safety. In the morning, he called my mother. I was dramatic. "Don't enable her." My mother called crying. I used my practice line, "I'm safe, please trust me." She didn't know what safe meant if it didn't mean home. I asked her to block him. I told her I loved her because I did, and because love was what I was trying to save. The messages began. "Sweet first. Asterisk baby, you're gone. I'm not mad. Let's talk. Asterisk. Asterisk, I can fix this. Therapy. No more jealousy. I swear. Asterisk." Then they changed. Asterisk, so you want to humiliate me? You and that friend. Asterisk. Asterisk, come home. Don't make me come get you. Asterisk. They multiplied like mold. Asterisk, you think you're safe? I know your bus stop. Asterisk. Asterisk, look behind you. Asterisk. I read that last one at the bus stop on my way to work. My ribs learned a new shape. I put my phone away and stared at pigeons and a kid asking for a muffin like the world hadn't tilted. "Hey." Alina appeared like a wall. "I'll walk you." She did, every morning for a week, coffee in hand, a joke ready, never making me feel like weight. Fear is heavy. It's lighter when two people carry it. At night, dumb shows, the good blanket. When I apologized for taking space, she asked, "Would you do less for me?" I said no. "Then stop arguing with my generosity," she said. That's her love language. At work, I was quiet. My manager, sensible shoes, spare flats in her desk, closed her door and said she'd noticed. I said I had a situation. She didn't pry. She handed me a flyer, resources, numbers, a support group on Thursdays 2 blocks away. "Whatever you need," she said. "Schedules, time off, someone to walk you. We can be practical." Practical is holy when you're rebuilding. I slipped the flyer into my bag like a passport. He kept calling from new numbers. "Asterisk, you belong to me." Asterisk asterisk, I'm worried about you. Asterisk asterisk, you won't last without me. Asterisk names meant to reduce me. I saved screenshots in a folder called taxes. Naming it made it real in a way that could stand in front of someone with a badge if it ever had to. The first Thursday, I hovered outside the church basement. Coffee maker noise, metal chairs. I felt ridiculous. A woman with kind eyes said, "You can sit in the back." I listened as women told my story with different details and the same weather. When it was my turn, I said I wasn't ready. They nodded. They knew, not ready. The second Thursday I spoke. I said my name and that I'd left. I said, "He never actually hit me," and my voice broke on "actually." No one argued with my words. They let them be complete. I walked home lighter, not fixed, but heard. Meanwhile, at work, I met someone. Not a rescuer, just a person. Marcus, from IT, fixed a printer and made small talk without measuring me. He asked if the office plants were real. I said they were plastic. He didn't ask about my dresses or my flinch. He noticed the world like it existed even when he wasn't watching, a sane way to be. We had coffee in the break room, then on a bench. He told me about a dog who hated vacuums. He didn't ask for my number or decorate me into his future. No pressure, he said. If you ever want to borrow a silly dog for a night, he's available. Then a photo of a tiny creature in a banana bandana. I laughed loud enough that Alina asked, "Who made you smile like that?" "A dog in a fruit scarf," I said. Leaving didn't fix me. It gave me permission to fix myself. Some mornings started with shame. Shame for staying, for lying to keep peace, for not leaving at the first flag. Shame is a habit. I'm unlearning it. I'd catch myself listening for a key in a lock that wasn't mine anymore. He showed up once. Alina and I were carrying groceries when his car rolled up. My hands went cold. He smiled like a meet-cute. "Enough games," he said. "Let's go home." He said home like a spell. Alina stepped between us. "Leave." He looked past her. "Are you going to let your friend talk for you?" "Yes," I said. He hadn't planned for that answer. He lingered long enough to whisper, "You'll regret this," and drove off. I printed the texts and filed an incident report with a cop who treated me like an adult. Boring paperwork, another holy thing. You need boring to build a life. It didn't end with a dramatic arrest or his sudden clarity. It ended like some fires do, after they eat everything they can and meet stone. He went quiet when silence didn't feed him. Maybe he found someone new. I hope she carries a brighter flashlight than I did. I hope she has an Alina. I carry the guilt of hoping he leaves her alone and the anger that he might not. Marcus asked me to a street fair. He asked in a way that made no as welcome as yes. We ate funnel cake, powdered sugar everywhere. He didn't steer me by the small of my back like property. He walked beside me. When I flinched at a loud noise, he asked if I wanted to step aside and stood with me by a bookstore window until my heart remembered ordinary. Later he said, "Alina seems like the kind of friend everyone should have." "She is," I said. He didn't propose to fix me with love. He offered time, the dignity of it. One night I told Alina, "I think I'm starting to feel like a person again." She raised her cheap whine. To persons. We laughed, and the laugh felt like air, not cover. A few weeks later, Marcus brought the dog to a park. The dog tried to eat a leaf, panicked about the leaf, and strutted in his banana cape. We talked about movies, coffee, whether owls get bored. I told Marcus I wasn't ready for heavy. "Of course," he said. "Tell me what ready looks like, and we'll start there." I didn't know a man could say that. A month later, I moved into a studio, paint I chose, a lock with a sound that belongs to me. The first night, a neighbor's bag thumped. My heart sprinted. I made tea and watched steam do its faithful small thing. I bought a cheap lamp that makes a puddle of light I call mine. I hung a print. "You're the home you were looking for." Corny. I love it. When I'm anxious, I touch the frame like a ritual. Sometimes fear taps the window and asks, "Miss me?" I say, "You are a season." I am weather. I still have the taxes folder. Proof lives in the back of the closet behind boxes labeled coats and holiday. I hope I never need it. On a shelf sits a shoebox of notes. Alina's, "I'm proud of you for choosing you." My mother's apology for not understanding fast enough. A card from Marcus with a cartoon owl. Asterisk, you don't have to be brave every day. Asterisk. Is this a love story? Maybe, but not the kind I expected. It's a love story about a friend who asked the only question that mattered. About a woman who realized she didn't owe rent on a life just because she decorated it. About coming home to myself and inviting in people who wipe their feet and ask where the mugs are. Sometimes I pass the restaurant where he almost hit me and think about the ring light and the frozen room and that stupid song. I don't hate the memory anymore. I keep it like a scar you trace the way you trace a road on a map you no longer need. That night was a compass. It pointed away. Here's what I know: control isn't care, rules aren't love. Someone who almost hits you has already told you who they are. No bruise doesn't mean no harm. Apologies aren't repairs unless the pattern changes. People who need you small will never be satisfied. You can shrink to a dot, and they'll still ask you to disappear. And silence breeds shame. I stayed blind by calling control moods and preferences, and by not saying the bad parts out loud. When I said them to Alina in a bathroom, to strangers in a church basement, to a cop with a clipboard, they got heavy in a useful way. Heavy enough to carry out of the house. If you recognize yourself, the flinch, the quiet, the rules with your name on them, but not your consent, here's your question. The one Alina gave me. Do you really want this for the rest of your life? You don't have to answer out loud yet. Start with a shaky list. Tape an envelope under a drawer. Tell one person who'll believe you. Build an exit like a bridge you cross at noon while the world thinks it's watching traffic. And if you've already crossed it, on a friend's couch learning how to sleep, reading texts that try to turn the world into a tunnel, and still walking to the bus, this is me, from a small studio with a corny print, telling you, I see you. Keep going. The ground ahead is stone. The fire can't spread there. What would you have done in my place? Stayed and called it love, or left and called it life?